daddies, don't you? Gary, if you want to play on this football team, you answer me when I ask you, who is your daddy? Who's your daddy, Gary? Who's your daddy? You. Uh-huh. And whose team is this? Is this your team? Or is this your daddy's team? Yours. Mm-hmm.
Well, Tennessee's got another game this week, sitting at 6-1, sitting in a good spot right now. Everything ahead of us that if we control our own destiny 100% so far in this season with 5 games remaining. And the next team is Kentucky. The Kentucky Wildcats will be coming to Knoxville, Tennessee this November 2nd, 7:45. This is a Kentucky team that's really reeling. They're not playing good football right now. And, you know, they started the year off rough, but then they went through a stretch where they played Georgia tight. Huge win on the road against Ole Miss, but since then they've just played really bad football, especially the last 2 games, which we'll get more into. But anyway, let's talk more about these 2 teams. Strength of schedule for Kentucky so far, they played the 17th hardest schedule. They've played 8 games so far. Tennessee has played 7 games, and they got the 5th hardest schedule. Both games that these teams have played, Kentucky just got manhandled against Auburn. Jarquez Hunter for Auburn just ran the ball all over them. Gave up over 300 yards rushing to Auburn. The game before that, they also gave up almost 200 yards rushing to Florida, which is it's not normal for this Kentucky defense. This is a good Kentucky defense, so I'm almost wondering if this Kentucky team is quitting on Mark Stoops. But anyway, Tennessee had a bye week this last week, but they 2 weeks ago they played Alabama, won 24-17, huge win, and I think it was a game Tennessee had to have if they want to get into the college football playoffs. Now, as far as this game is concerned, Tennessee is a 16-point favorite, and I think that's about right. You know, this game's tricky. Even though Kentucky is playing awful, you know, this would make their season to beat Tennessee. This is a top 10 Tennessee team, and Kentucky hates Tennessee. They cannot beat us in anything, whether it's checkers, basketball, football. Now, historically, basketball, they own us. But as of late, Tennessee's has won just as many as they've beaten us. So even in their best sport, it's kind of an even draw. So Tennessee's had their number, and Tennessee is their daddy. I mean, let's just be real. Tennessee is Kentucky's daddy, and so there's a middle block there for Kentucky to beat Tennessee. I think Kentucky has only beaten Tennessee at home like twice since 1984. They did beat us in the COVID year, but anyway, Tennessee should take care of business this game. But let's talk more about this game, how the players to watch, and we'll talk more about the stats. So let's start with Kentucky here. Deonte Walker, he's easily their best player on the football field. This guy is one of the better defensive tackles in the SEC. He's got 29 tackles. He's got 1.5 sacks, and he can wreck your offensive line. He can cause a lot of issues for Tennessee. Dylan Sampson, 838 yards rushing, 17 TDs. Dylan Sampson is 1 TD from almost going back 100 years and breaking G. McEvers' touchdown record at the University of Tennessee, which was back in 1929 when he had 18 TDs. So Dylan Sampson is 1 TD away from tying that. He's on pace to get around the same amount of yardage Travis Stevens had in 2001 when he had over 1,400 yards. So he's on target to have a great year. He's averaging about 123 yards rushing. So that's another person to be watching in this game for Tennessee. For Kentucky, Barian Brown, he's got almost 300 yards receiving. He's got 5 total TDs. That's a kind of a combination of receiving, rushing, kickoff return. He is a guy who's electric. If you kick the ball to him, he can take it to the house. So you got to be careful with him. He is a great athlete. He's that dude that was in the tunnel last year against Tennessee, getting in the middle of the tunnel, talking trash to Tennessee fans, and then he got smacked around. So that's who that cat is. For Tennessee, James Pierce, slow start, but man, is he coming on strong. I'm pretty sure he leads the nation in QB pressures. He's got 22 tackles, 3.5 sacks, and so having a great season. For Kentucky, Dane Key, 587 receiving yards, 2 TDs. He's definitely their best offensive weapon. And the person that's going to be on Dane Key for Tennessee is Jermod McCoy. Jermod McCoy is by far our best player in the secondary. He's the biggest pickup in the portal, in my opinion. He's got 24 tackles, 2 interceptions. He's just a shutdown corner, and he's played really, really good football. So those are the players to watch on both Kentucky and Tennessee. And now let's compare these teams and how they match up. So let's start first with the Kentucky offense versus the Tennessee defense. Kentucky offense, the total offense for Kentucky, they're 119th in the country. They're putting up 308 yards per game. It's been a bad year for Kentucky. They've not scored 20 points in SEC play yet. Tennessee total defense, third, allowing 259 yards per game. So Tennessee obviously has a huge advantage against their offense. Scoring offense for Kentucky, 121st, 19 points per game. Scoring defense for Tennessee, third, allowing only 12 points per game. Rushing offense for Kentucky, 85th, 142 yards per game. Tennessee is second, allowing only 79 yards per game. Passing offense for Kentucky is 124th, 166 yards per game. So that surprises me. I thought with Berrien Brown and Dane Key, I thought they would throw the ball around the field a little bit. Brock Vandegrift has struggled at times. The offensive line has struggled to give him time to throw. And it's been horrendous, folks. It kind of started in that South Carolina game, and it's just kind of stayed there. Passing defense for Tennessee's 21st, allowing only 180 yards per game. And this is what's made this Tennessee defense so elite. This was supposed to be the weak spot. This was supposed to be a unit that there was a lot of questions on whether they were going to be good with all the transfers and all the issues. And they have answered the bell. Ricky Gibson, Jermod McCoy, Boo Carter, etc. have done a phenomenal job. All right, now let's compare the Kentucky defense versus the Tennessee offense. Now, this is a comparison that's much more on equal standing here. This is going to be the more interesting comparison right here. Kentucky, you throw out the last 2 games, they've had a really good defense. Kentucky's total defense so far in 8 games is 21st, allowing 310 yards per game. Tennessee's total offense is 8th. They're averaging 474 yards per game, but they've played much worse in SEC competition. They have been shut out 3 games in a row in the first half. They erupted for 24 points in the second half against Alabama, and I'm praying that's the Tennessee offense we see going forward. It looked like Nico, a light bulb came on for him, but offensively, Tennessee has not been stellar. The numbers primarily is the Kent States, the UT Chattanoogas, the NC States is where we put up all these big stats. SEC competition, it's not been near as good. Scoring defense for Kentucky, 28th, allowing 20 points per game. Tennessee scoring offense, 13th, 40 points per game. Rushing defense for Kentucky, 52nd, allowing 132 yards per game. Now, the numbers were much better until the last 2 weeks. They gave up almost 200 yards rushing to Florida, and then they gave up over 300 yards to Auburn last week. So it begs the question, has Kentucky quit? Because that group's too good defensively to give up over 300 yards rushing to Auburn. Tennessee's rushing offense is 7th, averaging 242 yards per game. And I mean, if they can give up over 300 yards rushing to Auburn, they can easily do it to Tennessee, because this is a team that we can run the football very effectively. Passing defense for Kentucky's 19th, allowing 178 yards per game. A good pass defense. I want to see how Nico Iamaleava does against this defense. Coming off the bye week after the good second half against Alabama, he needs to play well. He needs to improve, and let's see how he does against a good defense. Passing offense for Tennessee's 62nd, averaging 232 yards per game. Now, this is a group that's they're backsliding. They're going backward. They were in the top 5 the first 3 or 4 games of the year. Now, they're getting worse. So they need to turn the page and get better. All right, turnover margin. All right. Kentucky's not been very good on turnover margin. 86th. They're -2 on turnover margin. Tennessee is a little better. They're 59th. They're +1. Kentucky has a narrow path to win this game. They're going to have to do a lot of things right to win this game, and they're going to have to win that turnover margin. Tennessee at times has had issue with turnovers, fumbles, primarily from Nico, interceptions, and see, that's kind of going to have to be the ticket if Kentucky wants to pull the upset off here in Knoxville. So let's talk about the prediction in this game. To start this year, I really thought Kentucky, even though Tennessee was coming off a bye week for this game, I thought Kentucky had a real shot at winning this game. I was high on Kentucky. I had Kentucky winning 8 games this season. I thought their defense was going to be stellar. They were going to keep them in every game. I thought they had elite wide receiver play, and I thought they would score enough points to win them quite a bit of SEC football games. But this offense is awful. Tennessee is coming off a bye week. They're going to be well rested. I expect a big game from Dylan Sampson. I expect Nico Iamaleava to have one of his better games against a Kentucky defense that's, quite frankly, I think they've quit. They're just not playing with a lot of passion, and I feel like they're tanking right now. And I feel like Tennessee's going to win this by double digits. It won't be the blowout, in my opinion, that a lot of people are calling it. I've seen a lot of people say Tennessee's going to win by 4 touchdowns. This is a good Kentucky team, and I think they do start this game off decently. They're going to play hard. They have a good defense. But Tennessee's going to win this pretty comfortably. I think Tennessee wins 31 to 14. Tennessee is going to pull away and distance themselves. Kentucky might get a late touchdown, make it look a little bit better than what it really is. Kentucky's not going to score many points against this defense. They're not going to be able to run the ball on this defense at all. And when they've made a quarterback change. Brock Vandegrift's not even going to be probably the starting quarterback. They're going to have a quarterback come in who does primarily short yardage situations. It's not a good recipe if you want to beat Tennessee, especially this Tennessee defense. So Kentucky's going to have to play a perfect game to win this game. Kentucky would have to have a ton of turnovers in their favor, short yardage situations, some Barry and Brown kickoff returns that he'll take to the house. But anyway, Tennessee will win this comfortably. I think Tennessee at the end of the day is going to be 7-1, getting ready to play Mississippi State, and the Vols keep rolling. Talk to you later.